All right, lads, welcome back to the channel. Part 2 of players that Chelsea need to sign now. We spent all the last episode talking about defenders and goalkeepers that would be good additions. We're here to talk about the midfield. Chelsea's midfield is completely up in the air. We got players talking about leaving. We got players running out of contract. We got squad players who potentially may be sold to raise money because they're homegrown players. What is going on? We don't need to address who's staying, really. We need to talk about players that would be good additions if those players are to in fact leave, which some of them hurt me a lot, some of them I can understand. Number 1 on the list is defensive midfield. We haven't replaced that since Matic went to United all them years ago. We need a tall, strong, physical player that's technically exceptional as well. That's what Matic was. I'll never forget that goal he scored against Spurs in the FA Cup semi-final. An absolute Exocet missile into the top bins. What a goal and what a day that was indeed. But Chelsea Football Club need to sign a player in that mould, and there's only one player on the list that's absolutely guaranteed to do that for me right now. That's Declan Rice. Declan Rice has every single season exceeded my expectations. He's gone on to do better and better. Every single time I've had a doubt about something he can do, he's improved that side of his game. I used to say, Declan Rice won't be able to add goals to his game. He's doing that now. He's scoring in big games. He's playing in big games, which is important. And he's turning up. There are so many players that get to big games and don't know how to turn up. Declan Rice is doing that, and that's what Chelsea should be doing season in, season out. West Ham are playing European games right now, and that's essential that a Chelsea player should have that experience before he comes to the club. Declan Rice has everything that we need in that position in abundance, can carry the ball forward, interceptions one of the highest in the league, highest in Europe as well. A phenomenal player, a fighter, and Chelsea's his club. The one key thing I'd say about this deal is that if Mason Mount doesn't sign a contract extension, I can't see it coming off. I think those two want to play together. There's no doubt about it for me. They want to do it at Chelsea. I just hope they both believe that the Bowley project is heading in the right direction. The second on the list, Manuel Garte. There's a lot of talk about this and the rumours are getting stronger and stronger. He looks like he'd be available at a cheaper price than Decker's. And to be honest with you, if he's just as good and he can make the step without having to go to another club first, which I'd normally say if you were coming from the Portuguese league, then let's do it. If he's cheaper and we can get it done and Declan Rice doesn't want to ultimately join Chelsea, this is our man. He's physical, he's good on the ball, he looks like an exceptional talent, he's Uruguayan, so he's probably got that dirty side to his game. I've watched a couple of games in the Champions League, not too many, but from what I've seen on YouTube, his highlights, he looks pretty solid. Ultimately, I'd want to watch him and study him a little bit more if I really thought he'd be the answer to Chelsea's midfield. But look, the only other issue I'd have with that is we've signed so many players now from other leagues and they've come in and they've not been exactly what we wanted straight away. I'd rather sign someone with proven Premier League quality who knows what it takes to play in the league, and we don't have to wait to have this player settle down and understand the league, get the language going. If we can add someone to the squad immediately that could do this and help transform Chelsea, that would be worth the extra 40 or 50 million that someone like Declan Rice might cost over Manuel Garte. That's all I'm saying. But he doesn't look like a bad option if that can't happen. The other person I'd like to speak about is Lavier. Lavier at Southampton has had a great season in a dismal side. He's stood out. He's been a shining light in a very poor Southampton team. He's arguably allowed James Ward-Prowse to move forward and play higher up the pitch. And he's also had a better season than he's probably had in previous years. Albeit, Southampton everywhere else have been appalling. But Lavier could probably be signed at the same time as one of those other players because of his age, because of the Bowley project in having the best young players in the country, in Europe, at Chelsea. Lavier fits the mould. He's in a similar mould to Chukwuemeka. He's probably played more Premier League games than Chukwuemeka as well now. I think he'd be a phenomenal signing to get done at this age because he's only got his best years ahead of him for at least the next decade and more. He's got everything you need. Physical, strong on the ball, good on the ball, technically excellent, and he's very, very positive in his play. He's not like a crab and it's not all sideways. He definitely looks for a more exciting range of passes than I'd say some of the other players that are sort of existing in that role and that age bracket in and around the game in Europe right now. A couple of other players I wanted to throw into the mix are Ndidi and Ruben Neves. Ruben Neves wants to leave Wolves. He's been really, really good in this position. Another player I'd even add is Paulinho. He's had a great season at Fulham. If Chelsea can't sign any of the other targets, then this guy fits the mould completely as well. Probably even more so than Ruben Neves. And the other player is Ndidi. Leicester are going down. Ndidi, alright, he hasn't been on it for the last year and a half, maybe even 2 seasons. If he could recoup the form that he showed before then, what a great player he could be. And he would be available an absolute steal right now. But moving on from defensive midfielders, Mateo Kovacic is more than likely going to leave Chelsea this summer, and I want to sign a player that is equally as good as him or could be better and adds goals, because Kovacic, the one frustration I had with him is that he never, ever, ever added enough goals to his game. And if he goes to Pep, do you know what? I actually bet he does. And I think he'd be a great addition to Manchester City. But I don't want to see him going to a rival unless we can get some huge money for him. But ultimately, Chelsea need to eye up replacements in this position. A couple of names I want to throw into the hat are Tielemans from Leicester. I think Maddison can play this role. We've seen him do that as well. Them two would be available at definitely cut price deals because of Leicester more than likely getting relegated. I think Gravenberch at Bayern Munich has had no game time whatsoever really for them. Definitely not what he expected. He'd be more than adequate for this role, and obviously he'd be guaranteed to play in that position at Chelsea. I'm pretty sure he'd be up for that. He wants game time. He wants to be playing in a good league, in a top 5 league, and I think this guy could be available on the cheap as well. The other player I'd add that I think is an unbelievably good player, almost underrated because of how poor a season his side have had this season, is Nunes from Wolves. He scored an unbelievable goal against Chelsea. Every time I've seen him play, he's looked really, really good. Technically astute, has an eye for goal, a good player, someone that even Pep Guardiola spoke about in a press conference and said this would be a great player for any team at the top end of the Premier League. Wolves shocked everyone by signing him from Sporting. He's made the jump. I like the fact he's growing at Wolves, so maybe another season. But if Kovacic goes now, we'll probably get him at a cheaper price than what we would after next season when he probably has a better season at Wolves and Wolves improve as well. He's playing out of position as well, so why not make the move? If you've got any suggestions there, let me know. I really want to try and find a player that would fit that mould and has goals to their game. That's obviously very, very difficult to find. We had the greatest of all time in that role was Frank Lampard. If we could find the regen of him, then honestly that would be a massive W for Chelsea Football Club. The rest of the midfield is pretty well stacked. I just think players that are squad players that are English that have come through Chelsea Football Club shouldn't be allowed to leave. I know there's a lot of money for these type of players, but Chelsea Football Club are better with these players in the team, not to be starting every week. I'm not saying Conor Gallagher should start every game. I'm not saying Ruben Loftus-Cheek should start every game. But the amount of injuries Chelsea get when these players are called upon and needed, they give you one thing that's an absolute 100% all-in performance pretty much every time they play, and they fight for the badge. Chelsea Football Club, we need to work out what's going on in the midfield. It's too up in the air. Get the contract signed. Make sure these players are staying at Chelsea. Let me know who you think Chelsea should be signing. I'm not an expert in these positions. I'd like to see who you think would be good additions to Chelsea as well in the midfield role. Defensively and creatively, they're big problems for Chelsea this season. And let's see what we can do. I'll catch you in the next one for part 3 where we're talking about the forward line.